Are you fucking stupid? Look. I don't think Joe Rogan is like a psychotic anti-black racist. And people have shit on me for this, especially because I was talking about it literally in the confines of the N-word saga that he was going through again when people were canceling him for his earlier N-word take. I don't think he is. And I'll stand by that. I've listened to the man for thousands of hours. I don't think he's like an anti-black racist. He is racist though. And sometimes can be anti-black. He's not more anti-black racist than the average out and about serious centrist apolitical Andy or whatever. He's from fucking Boston. I think he lived in New Jersey for an extended period of time. Of course, he's a white guy, all right? He's not like deliberately cutting secretly anti-black racist propaganda. Those older videos he has apologized for. He knows that shit is bad. That's one thing. Having said that, however, to act like a lot of this stuff is clipped out of context and he contains multitudes, he offers so much more, is mind-boggling. Because with Joe Rogan, what you see is what you fucking get. Sure, he's a bit of a chameleon who changes ideologies on a whim in accordance to who he's talking to, but I believe the far better way of analyzing Joe Rogan is off of things, I will categorize this, things he cares about and will defend. Because Joe Rogan is malleable. He's always been that way. Unprincipled and malleable. And back in the day, there were a couple things he put in the I care about this box. Early Joe Rogan always would put smoking weed and even doing DMT in the I care about this box. That box inside of his mushy, soft brain was made by this impenetrable armor. He would defend it non-fucking stop. Doesn't matter. You could have an expert on and convince this man that, like, the moon is fake, and he would probably believe it. But if you told him weed is bad, he'd be like, fuck you, that's not the case. Here is, like, why that is not the case. Fuck yourself. So that box grew. Over time, that box grew. But things got added in that box, and he started fucking unironically defending. One of them was ivermectin, or vaccine denial. Another one was cis girls playing with trans girls in sports. The, was it Fallon Fox era, where he slowly started dipping his water in the anti-trans shit, and he dived into it, okay? He fucking dove in head first. And that was literally before the Christian right unironically found out that anti-trans issues only worked really well when it was paired up with sports and fairness in sports. Joe Rogan was ahead of the game. He was a genuine figure that genuinely believed that it was unjustifiable and completely ridiculous to allow trans women to compete with cis women. So remember that. That was the other thing that was in his box. Now that box is full of fucking right-wing bullshit. Cancel culture is so bad. Trans women in sports. Like, back in the day, Joe Rogan was an infinitely more interesting figure because the show was interesting, because there was a multitude of different opinions. And since 2014, 2015, the show has slowly but surely became more and more right-wing. As people have come and gone, as the people that he used to have were like fun, interesting guys. Even the fun, interesting guys have become charlatan hawkers of pills and supplements instead of just being like a unique and interesting guy. People that sell you courses, cryptocurrency charlatans, people like that. Like he substituted the interesting guys for newer, shittier, late-stage capitalist versions of said shittier guys. He substituted the mushroom guys for guys that are selling you something different. It still seems like a mushroom guy. It sounds like a mushroom guy, but this guy is also selling you some other shit. It's not just cranks, it's conment cranks. But worst of all, he substituted the thinkers that were unique and interesting and comedians and whatnot with right-wing media people. So many right-wing media people have basically gained prominence off of the backs of the Joe Rogan Experience. Genuinely sad state of affairs. And for those of you who are asking, like, why did you stop watching? It's because, honestly, it got fucking boring. You guys know me. I'm not exactly the type of person that would stop watching content because it's offensive. If anything, it made me look at it harder, right? Because I certainly was fucking locked in. Even during the alt-right Gamergate era of Joe Rogan, I was watching all those fucking content creators come on. I was angry, I was white-knuckling through it, but I was still watching because it was still interesting to a certain degree. Now it's just fucking boring. Now it's just an old man who's so out of touch, so rich, and he has created a circle of yes men. He rarely ever has interesting guests on. When he does, they're like barely ever talking about fucking aliens. Like, it doesn't seem like the heart of the show is there. podcast was a great outlet for people who didn't have an older brother who smoked weed and told you about dumb shit. That's what the podcast was. The other day, he actually had a physicist on. I looked him up and saw that he works for PragerU. That's what I mean. Every single person that Joe Rogan has on is has some level of fucking association with like a right-wing media outlet. Like, it's so bad. It's all of them, dude. Every single one. It sucks. I mean, guys, this guy had fucking Dave Rubin on multiple times. Get the fuck out of here. That's when you lost the plot. Dave Rubin offers nothing. He's not interesting. He's not unique. He's not funny. He's just a right-wing guy. That's it. Any right-wing guy. Joe Rogan can spend 1 hour saying we got to take care of the environment, regulate more, hold corporations accountable, blah, blah, blah. And on the next episode, he's like, nah, fuck all that woke shit. Ron DeSantis 2024. Yeah, which is why if you are Vox.com's very own Johnny motherfucking Harris, how do you make a video like this and you make it seem like Joe Rogan contains multitude when he's literally a chameleon? And even the dumbest Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy who's been choke slammed so fucking hard that his brain no longer works the same, he might have gotten a stroke from all of his Brazilian jiu-jitsu, even that guy fucking understands that Joe Rogan is a chameleon. So how the fuck did Johnny Harris not see it? This is how you get invited on. I mean, yeah, I will never be invited on the Joe Rogan Experience. Let's be fucking real. It doesn't matter if I'm the most famous person on the planet. That is the reality. Because I do not ride his dick. Johnny Harris, on the other hand, is kind of bouncing on it right now. Doing tricks on it a little bit.
To find out that his politics actually lean mostly left.
She's the wife of the best president that we have had in our lifetime.
He openly and earnestly voices support for everything from universal health care to abortion to gay marriage to recreational drugs.
I lean way left when it comes to those kind of things, gay rights and things like...
Dog, he's literally a fucking Ron DeSantis supporter. Get the fuck out of here.
Social programs for disenfranchised people and disenfranchised communities. I lean way left. Like, if I want my tax dollars to go to anything, I want it to go to making people's lives easier.
I'm not right-wing at all. Oh, okay.
No.
That's wild.
No, there's nothing about me that's right-wing.
He even endorsed Bernie Sanders.
Wait. You know, just two left-wing guys talking, right, Johnny? What do you think about Jimmy Dore, Johnny? What do you think about his Ukraine takes, for example? What do you think about Jimmy Dore? Think he's a left-wing guy, too? I mean, I know you want to go on Joe Rogan's show, but do you want to go on Jimmy Dore's show? Probably not. So you're probably going to be honest about his perspective, aren't you?
Here's the Democratic Socialist in 2020 after having him on the show.
There's not a single human that can speak for all the American people. But you could look out for the interests of the American people. And I think Bernie Sanders definitely does do that.
You got 3 people owning more wealth than the bottom half of the American society. You don't see that on television too much, do you?
No, you don't.
3 people. You got the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 92%.
What are the misconceptions of you? Because here's the... if you go to...
Point to a fucking post-COVID clip of Joe Rogan being a fucking leftist, openly saying he's a leftist. The closest you get to is when he's talking to that fucking freak Seth Dillon, the Babylon Bee guy. And Seth Dillon is trying to fucking argue that it's okay to force a 13-year-old who's been raped to carry a pregnancy to term, and Joe Rogan sees red. That is the only time I've seen in the fucking post-COVID universe where Joe Rogan was like, hold up, this is insane. No, you can't do that. You can't do that to my daughter. That's what he said. This is starting to piss me the fuck off, dude. It's starting to piss me off. Oh my God. Listen, man, Joe Rogan is not that complex. He's just like the average American voter in many ways. Really fucking far right on some issues, really fucking far left on others, maybe, depending on who you ask or how they're feeling in that moment. But if there's one thing that Joe Rogan is not, that is a person who has thought things through. He's just like the classic fucking American voter who's like, oh, I voted for a Republican. Now I'm voting for a fucking Democrat. Oh, I don't know. That's who he is. And as someone who claims to have watched thousands of hours of fucking Joe Rogan, I would have expected this dude to at least done a better job of describing that instead of being like, he is so complex of a figurehead. This is literally just signaling to the YouTube audience that you're doing PR for Joe Rogan because you want to go on his fucking show and you want to eat away at some of his market share. You want some of his fans to watch your fucking videos. That's it, man. It is so cowardly to do this. It is so fucking cowardly to do this. You can make an honest assessment. I've defended Joe Rogan time and time again on issues where people have taken it too fucking far. But this is ridiculous. Trying to audition to be on the fucking Joe Rogan Experience by making this fucking big-ass YouTube video and like simultaneously getting a lot of views on it because Joe Rogan has a lot of fans, obviously, is so cowardly. I really hope that this changes a little bit, this video. Like, there's no way this is just a suck show, right?
Go to the knee-jerk conservative reaction. You talk to people who are not interested in anyone that wants to be a democratic socialist. You hear the name Bernie Sanders. The negative implications are that you are somehow or another going to take their money, right? Is that annoying to you?
Yes, it is. Of course it is.
Oh, and here he is with presidential hopeful Andrew Yang. agreeing
Another
with-
beacon of left-wing ideas, man. Oh! I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I'm fucking losing my mind. I hate Americans. I hate Americans. I hate how fucking stupid they are about politics. Andrew Yang was never a leftist. He never was a left-wing guy. UBI is not a leftist concept. If UBI was a leftist concept, then Milton fucking Friedman would be considered a leftist. Fuck! I said this literally in like whenever the fuck Andrew Yang popped out, okay? Whatever year, the first time. I said, listen, you gotta be careful. UBI, if seen as a substitute, there are old videos. You can find them in like 2018, 2016, 2017, whenever the fuck Andrew Yang gained prominence. UBI is great as long as it is not a substitute for the social safety nets that exist. Andrew Yang absolutely presented it as such. Just wait till the end. You're gonna blow one. I am already blowing one. I've already fucking blown a gasket, dude. I'm getting a fucking aneurysm. Oh, he had Andrew Yang on. Such a leftist.
him on the super progressive idea of universal basic income.
My initial knee-jerk reaction was, get the out of here. Like, universal basic income, just going to give people money, they're just going to be lazy, nothing's ever going to get done. That's a terrible idea. And then I started paying attention to the rise of AI and automation and how many jobs are going to get taken away from. And then once you see the actual numbers, it's pretty staggering.
But despite thinking that, he presents his ideas in this very kind of anti-woke, anti-political correctness, say whatever you want type of vibe. And this is confusing, but also very appealing. People love to listen to a guy whose views and language are all over the place. I think for a lot of people, it's like a respite from the predictable lineup of popular voices that to a predictable list of beliefs, opinions, views, and enemies. Rogan's style is rare, and I think people like that. Which gets me to my second big takeaway.
Bitch, I'm anti-woke. Get the fuck out of here, dude. That is not... Dude, there's a difference between, like, not caring about the aesthetic subtext or the aesthetic liberalism and hand-waving that away, and even sometimes going so far as to shit on the people that come in here to do rad-lib bullshit. Like, oh my god, I can't believe you didn't issue a trigger warning here, blah, blah, blah. I've talked about the narcissism of radical liberalism so many fucking times. That is a stylistic choice that can be a part of your personality, a part of your ideology. Joe Rogan goes way beyond that. The idea that he is like this super progressive guy is insane.
Joe Rogan sells contrarianism. That is his product. A quick reminder that Joe Rogan isn't just a guy. He is a commercial icon, a seasoned performer who performs for an audience for money. He knows what people want, and he is selling something very popular. An alternative to the endless reductionist, polarized name-calling of our current discourse.
They all do the same move. They drop down and do the splits.
That's what I think when I'm watching your shows too.
Johnny like comments on his video saying he hopes he goes on JRE. Look, everybody wants to go on the Joe Rogan Experience. I would love to go on the Joe Rogan Experience. The difference between me and other people is that I'm not gonna fucking bounce on Joe's dick to be able to have that opportunity. That's the main difference. Do you get it? And a lot of people know full well that Joe will not have you on if you shit on him. That's it. But Johnny Harris, on the other hand, is blowing bubbles. He's blowing bubbles on it. He's doing tricks on it.
He goes to great lengths to stake himself out as this anti-authority, anti-establishment platform where anyone can come and talk.
If you're in
not
one
true.
camp, you're supposed to have all the opinions that one camp has. And if you do not align with all the opinions that one camp has, you find yourself cast out of the group.
No woke police, no mainstream media bias, no corporate deception. Just an earnest, curious guy trying to find the truth and not doing too much.
Yeah, anyone but Sam Cedar. You know what I mean? Anyone but Sam Cedar. No, man. No. If you've ever fucking criticized Joe Rogan extensively, you're not going on it. Look at Kyle Kalinske. Love Kyle. You won't see Kyle fucking doing anti-Joe Rogan commentary ever. Why? Because Kyle's on the Joe Rogan Experience. David Pakman. I don't even think David does that. Or if he has, I don't know if he's going on the Joe Rogan Experience anytime soon. He's not going to have people on that shit on him. Yeah, David Dozen is no longer invited. Yeah, there you go. Adam Conover pushed back. Yeah, remember when Adam Conover pushed back and then he was always invited ever again? And also when Adam Conover was on, he was on a fucking TV show and he had never talked about Joe Rogan beforehand, I don't think. I'm talking about people that have already cut commentary on Joe's behavior.
Which gets me to my third point. This is where I have my biggest critique of Joe Rogan. Joe lets people talk.
That's your biggest critique of Joe Rogan after you said he sells contrarianism? One is neatly repackaging that Joe Rogan is a fucking dumb ape, and people love that because that is true. Joe Rogan himself admits that, just like I admit I'm a fucking dumbass. Straight up, Joe Rogan is a dumb ape. He doesn't hate boxes. He just doesn't understand it. He's not engaging in like hyper-intellectual conversations that go beyond the neatly confined ideological boxes that we have in neoliberal monoculture. Number two, Joe sells contrarianism is just reactionary politics. Joe sells reactionary politics. When you're a dumb ape, you of course respond like a dumb ape to new things that are happening around you that you cannot understand. You have two options when you're a fucking dumb ape. I'm a dumb ape too, so I know this. So when I see something that I don't fucking fully understand, my immediate reaction isn't like, fuck that. No, stay there, not happening. My immediate reaction is either, I don't care enough about this, who gives a fuck, move on. Or, let me understand. Let me try to see what is going on in the world that I am now privy to. What's happening? Why are these people saying these things? Is there any truth to what's going on here? Joe doesn't do that. He's like, that's different. That's change. Me no like change. That is reactionary. He's not selling contrarianism. He's selling reactionary politics. Reacting to stimuli. Reacting to progress happening all around him. Refusing to identify with it. Refusing to understand it. And saying, change bad, change bad, change bad. Number three, Joe lets people talk. That's my main criticism. If anything, that's the only good thing that he does, but it's a bad thing because he's a reactionary and only has reactionary guests. There was an element of curiosity back in the day and allowing people to talk that made the Joe Rogan Experience good. But when the guests and the style of guests changed, all of a sudden the nature of the content changed. I love the idea of being contrarian when you're literally selling mainstream American conservative reactionary politics. What the fuck is reactionary? What the fuck is contrarian about Joe Rogan when he's like half the time saying shit that you would either hear on MSNBC or more than half the time saying shit that you hear on Fox News on a daily basis? Woke culture sucks. These youth are too gay. They're too liberal. They're too woke. They're too soft. What about that is contrarian? Yeah, Joe has also gotten mad at Jamie for proving him/his guests wrong, pushing misinformation. Jamie rarely pulls shit up anymore, and he used to. He used to at least be like the final barrier, like the Cheeto holding the door as the SWAT team is ready to break it. That was Jamie pulling shit up on his computer. Now that's kind of gone too.
Robert Downey Jr. or Miley Cyrus. But then you also have a lot of people with big opinions and big points of view, from super mainstream and respected voices to experts on really specific science things. But then you have a handful of a lot of controversial.
This guy hasn't used a singular clip post 2019. He talked about the Spotify bag, and he has rarely shown the post Spotify Joe. What is this? Like, literally, the fucking Joe Rogan subreddit would look at this video and go, what's happening? This does not feature any of the new Joe Rogan shit. Are you marketing old Joe? You're showing some of his highlights with, like, you know, controversial parts of it, too, while avoiding some of the more controversial parts, as a matter of fact. Like, not really talking about any of the times that he's had out and about white supremacists on, like, fucking Gavin McGinnis, Stefan Molnier, Sargon of Akkad, Milo Yiannopoulos. Did he have Paul Joseph Watson on? I feel like he even had that fucking freak on.
I think he likes the appeal of being this anti-mainstream platform.
Yeah, fuck, he had Andy No on. Oh my god.
Where anyone who has been canceled by the woke mob can come and get their side of the story.
I mean, you don't have to agree on everything.
Yeah, here's a guy who's been canceled by the woke mob. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Here comes my big critique. I think there's a fallacy tucked into all of this. When Joe has these people on, it almost feels like he's giving them a chance to tell their side of the story. Like they don't have a place to tell their side and they've been unfairly censored. I think this is flawed thinking. Not everyone who has a point of view and who's famous has ideas worth hearing or debating in our society. I really believe that. There are people who've gotten famous simply because they've...
This is literally the most liberal-ass way to criticize Joe Rogan. I am going to Sudoku. Oh my fucking lord. Oh my god. Dog, the problem isn't he's offering a platform to these people. The problem is he's not capable of pushback. He is a fucking chameleon. That's the issue. And as a chameleon, when all of the motherfucking right-wing people that he has on are just on there chirping, and he's like, oh, yeah? That's crazy. I can't believe there's litter boxes in schools. And, like, he just repeats them over and over and over again. Over the course of, like, 4 or 5 fucking years, it becomes this reactionary shithole. You can absolutely have the likes of Ben Shapiro and whoever the fuck you want on. You just have to be able to deal with it adequately, because these guys are charlatans. They are carnival barkers, myself included. Like, this is what people like Ben Shapiro, people like Matt Walsh, people like myself, we do this professionally. Our job is to craft a perfect narrative that makes our positions look better than other positions, okay? This is what I do professionally. This is what Ben does professionally. If you're a dumb fucking ape with a malleable, pasty brain, you're not capable of understanding that the person in front of you is doing propaganda, and you have no way to deal with it. So you just look at it and go, oh, this guy's earnest. Now, the difference between me and Ben Shapiro is that I do truly believe the things I say. And I also truly believe that things I say are good, and they're right.
I started this gang called the Proud Boys. And Proud Boys? The Proud Boys.
What's Proud Boys about?
A far-right extremist group that promotes white supremacy ideology and proudly promotes violence against groups they don't know.
4 members of the Proud Boys, that far-right extremist organization, well, they've been found guilty of seditious conspiracy for their roles in the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
Hassan apologized to Joni. Suck my dick, dude. Oh, man. He had one criticism in 18 minutes. After fucking glazing him. Like, he's like, oh, my God, the Proud Boys is January 6th, and Joe Rogan had Gavin McInnes on. Oh, no, man. He's not cooking in this shit. I thought he was, because I'm a firm believer that, like, liberalism was going to jump out at a certain point and stop Johnny from, you know, glazing up this titan of a man who has been at the forefront of anti-trans rhetoric online, forefront of fucking anti-vaxxer shit online. Joe Rogan has had on every fucking prominent anti-vaxxer, anti-science kook and crank that has a website from 1994 that's still selling colloidal silver supplements on the entire planet. He hasn't stopped doing that. And now Emmy Award recipient Johnny Harris is over here being like, all that stuff. He's just, you know, he's a curious guy. He contains multitudes. He's not, you can't put him in a box.
Time his group violently attacked people who were protesting Milo Yiannopoulos at Berkeley.
Because I started feeling bad after a while. Because I could tell these kids had never been in a fight, and I was just mowing through them.
I mean, I don't know, like having a guy on your show.
That's his biggest criticism, is that Joe Rogan just lets people like this talk too much because he's curious. That is the classic former and current Joe Rogan fan. Dude, you just don't get it. He has a multitude of different guests on from different backgrounds. Remember when he had Bernie Sanders on that one time? He very clearly is an open-minded progressive. He's just a curious guy. But, like, yeah, maybe sometimes he's letting people speak too much. That's not criticism. He had Tulsi Gabbard on so many times, guys. Think about how progressive he is. Tulsi Gabbard, Jimmy Dore, so progressive, so progressive, so progressive.
And this is my critique, is like, it feels like sometimes Joe will have these people on because they say and do reprehensible things, not in spite of it.
I'm taking the low road. I'm punching them in the face.
So that's what you're doing with this outfit?
But listen, Joe is absolutely right. Being able to say things, no matter how much I disagree with them, is a vital right. It is an unnatural and precarious thing. People should be able to speak, and we must protect that. I believe that. And Joe should absolutely legally be allowed to give his giant megaphone to whoever he wants. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to critique it. Because listen, having this open-minded, likable guy who's very good at entertaining us, give his...
Yeah, dude, he's right. Dude, it's just... People are just mad at Joe Rogan for giving a megaphone, dude. Just express yourself. This is literally liberalism's major issue. This is the reason why many leftists say, cut a liberal and a fascist bleeds. It's so simple to infiltrate liberal circles with civility and aesthetics while simultaneously promoting really, really fucking violent ideologies. It's like, oh, I'm just going to critique it. Well, critique it. You haven't critiqued it. If Joe Rogan is a chameleon who changes shapes and ideologies with every single fucking person that he has on, well then look to his fucking ideology of his guests. Whenever he has a political guest on, it's almost always right-wing to far right, including literal out-and-about Nazis, man. Come on. What the fuck are we talking about? We're talking about Joe Rogan in 2023. We're not talking about Joe Rogan in 2017. We're not talking about Joe Rogan in 2018. We're talking about Joe Rogan in 2023. What the fuck's going on? What do you mean gentle criticism? Half of his fucking community left him behind because they're like, this guy sucks. I'm one of the people. I'm one of the people that used to be a fucking major fan. While this guy was, doing map porn on fucking Vox, I was a Joe Rogan fan. You know what I mean? Actually, fuck that. While he was a fucking Mormon at BYU, I was a Joe Rogan fan. What the fuck are we talking about here? I used to pull this up every time I talked about Joe Rogan because there were so many unimaginable Joe Rogan dick riders who would come in here and be like, dude, you're just a fucking idiot. You don't understand Joe. Joe's not like that, blah, blah, blah. And I would pull this up. The photo is ancient because I'm wearing a Henley and Joe's wearing this one guy that he used to promote all the fucking time. The person who made these shirts. He used to talk about it on his show all the time. So those are top 10 coolest moments? No.
Which is good enough.
But Eddie, you can see the bombs.
But how do you know by seeing them that they're real?
And this feeling really hit me when I was listening to the episode with Alex Jones. Alex Jones, a man who has created an empire off of promoting lies and warped information so that he can sell health.
Bro, these aren't even his worst offenses, man. Like, Alex Jones is really fucked up, especially after the defamation suit. He had him on and he revitalized his career. But, like, his worst offenses are more insidious. Like, his worst moments are trapped inside of a random clip where he's talking to someone and immediately goes on a tangent about trans people. Those are his worst moments. His worst moments are when he's, like, he's so fucking high off the sauce of reactionary politics that he's just gone overboard and he's talking about like litter boxes in schools and shit.
A man who was recently ordered to pay $1.5 billion in damages to the families of the Sandy Hook shooting victims for spreading lies about the shooting being a hoax. And yet here he is on the Joe Rogan Experience getting a chance to tell his side of the story.
When I started getting accused 4 years ago, a couple years into it, when I said, no, I think it happened, then people that I had interviewed and things started saying, he's involved, he's one of them.
Because you are now saying that it happened, they thought that you'd been compromised.
Yes, and then I started realizing,
this is how it works.
A certain percentage of people are schizophrenic.
Exactly.
And then they just think everything's a conspiracy.
Now listen, I'm going to tell you the truth right now and admit something, which is that when I watched this, I actually had a moment where I was like, oh my god, like, here's Alex Jones in this, like, very calm environment. He's, like, yelling like he does on InfoWars.
My heart's big. It's got hot blood going through it fast. I like to eat. I like to have children.
And I literally thought, like, wait, is Alex Jones, like, was he wrongfully accused, or was this overly exaggerated? Was this like a witch hunt to censor this guy because he's, like, kind of has far-right views? Because this felt like a proper moment for Jones to tell his side of the story.
What? I began to realize, because I was on the receiving end of people pulling up in white pants with guns at my office saying, I know you put a microchip in my head and I'm going to kill you. So I came out and I said, listen, I never sent anybody to the houses, but
Dude, no fucking way. Dude, there ain't no fucking way. No, what is he? I'm
apologize
pausing
for
too
taking
early. I'm pausing too early. No shot. He's going to explain his take. There's no shot.
context. People have a right to question, but I'm sorry for the families, and I'm sorry for your hurt, and I get it, and I've experienced crazy people now, big time, just like you have. Please stop saying that I'm saying it didn't happen.
And he nearly persuaded me. But wait, no. No. Then I remembered that my full-time job is to do journalism.
No one died in 2012 in Sandy Hook.
And luckily, I sit around and fact-check things all day. And I researched it, and I reminded myself that there's actually not a ton of nuance here. The facts. Alex Jones repeatedly claimed that the Sandy Hook shooting...
Okay, he didn't go that far. Okay, holy shit. Yeah, journalism. Thank you for doing a lot of journalism on this one, by the way. That was great. He's hearing Joe have polite conversations and is immediately convinced. Yeah, brother, that's the point. I think that basically gives the game away for why he is behaving this way. Because Joe Rogan has a lot of the aesthetics of free speech and civility that you need to have to be able to exist in polite society. I don't think that Alex Jones is some like nefarious, hyper far right, like ideologically driven fascist that is too cowardly to say these things on his own and like tricks people into brainwashing them by having right-wing people on. Joe Rogan has the capacity to fool a lot of liberals, or rather make a lot of liberals feel like he's just like, honest to God, kind of a dumb himbo. Everybody likes him. He's just like, he knows not what he says, whatever. And like maybe sometimes he, goes a little overboard with some of his guests, like every now and then. But he has a multitude of different ideologies that is well represented on his show, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's not the case. Like, he definitely does have an ideological perspective. His show is ideologically driven. It is right-wing for the most part. It's slanted. It used to be definitely a little bit more interesting. But the reality is that Joe Rogan absolutely is, by his own admission, a Ron DeSantis. You know what I mean? Yeah, he went from liberal with like interesting opinions, some very progressive positions, to a center-right guy to far-right, and he's somewhere in between like center-right, far-right. That's where Joe Rogan is. That's who his guests are. The idea that like he knows not what he's doing, or the biggest problem is that like he can sometimes let people speak too much, is really silly. He is susceptible to propaganda just like anyone else is, just like I am, just like you are. He's eaten the propaganda from the right, hook, line, and sinker, and basically created this echo chamber whose careers heavily rely on being able to appear on the Joe Rogan Experience. If I'm going to look at this and assume that Johnny Harris is sincere with the things that he's saying, and he's not cynically making this centrist-ass video specifically so he can go on the Joe Rogan Experience, then I'm afraid he's naive and he was duped by Joe Rogan. But I don't believe that, because I think Johnny Harris is much smarter than that. His guests are just people who personally he agrees with. He just can't outright say it. Yeah, pretty much. That's charitable to offer that possibility. I mean, I think he's glazing, but maybe he's just naive and he like saw a guy who's just trying to simply have ideas or conversations, and he thought maybe he was clip chimped a lot, I guess. And now he's like, well, Joe Rogan is not all that bad. I genuinely don't know though. I'm shocked.
I don't know about you, but if I weren't a full-time journalist who was paid to go down rabbit holes and check facts.
Damn, dude, he's such a good full-time journalist. Like, come on, bro. I'm sorry. You can't be fucking glazing up big homie over here for 24 minutes and then be like, I'm a fact-checking full-time journalist. Like, oh man, let's be real, okay? You're a YouTuber. You're doing YouTuber shit right now. There is nothing more YouTuber shit than like literally omitting key details of Joe Rogan's fascinating media career and his ideological shapings that turned into ideological trappings, as a matter of fact, as his career progressed. Can't fucking be like I'm a journalist while simultaneously making a YouTube video that is devoid of like any of the fucking journalism, with the exception of like the peak of the peak, where you're like, well, Alex Jones did lose a $1 billion defamation suit to the Sandy Hook families. I'm a journalist. I did my journalism. Are you fucking joking? That's the one time you did your journalism? You don't have to be a fucking journalist to know that Alex Jones is a charlatan who absolutely defamed and lied about the Sandy Hook situation and the fucking parents. Why are you making it seem like you want a fucking Pulitzer for pulling that shit up? Guys, I had a revelation. Alex Jones lost a defamation suit. Pulled that shit up as a journalist and figured out that Alex Jones was lying about what he said on the Joe Rogan Experience. But he almost got me there. He almost got me. But thank God there was a massively popular defamation suit that was historic, record-breaking awards were given as a consequence of Alex Jones's defamation and lies about Sandy Hook. Thank God for thank God for Johnny being a journalist, dude. He pulled that shit up. I'm so disappointed, dude. I fucking make memes about Johnny Harris, but like ultimately, I do like his content. I watch it all the time. This is the single most disappointing. This is more disappointing than his like. I expect him to obviously have pro-American State Department propaganda whenever he talks about American foreign policy, the history of American foreign policy, history of coups, blah, blah, blah. I expect that. I expect that from everyone. That's not going to immediately make me write someone off, okay? Because I know that not everyone is equipped with the immortal science of Marxist-Leninism or dialectical materialism when they're operating, or historical materialism when they're operating on historical analysis. I know that. But when I see something like this, it goes beyond the pale. He has officially moved beyond the I'm just a liberal who does have some good videos and makes really good map porn to like, I am very deliberately either demonstrating how naive I am, like laughably naive, or I am absolutely grifting here to fucking get on the Joe Rogan Experience. Yeah. Joe Rogan is just an open-minded guy, bro. Come on, just an open-minded guy. He's just hanging out with the governor. What do you mean?
I think the idea of trusting your viewer to go fact check everything you
When
say
my friend
is
Neil bent over,
irresponsible
this
and-
happened. Does somebody know, is this COVID related? And if it is, what do we do about it? Ow.